So welcome back to the daily vlog. Something a bit different today. Gary and Jean have been here most of the day, and we've had a lovely meal. And Jane said to me, "You know, you're supposed to be posting a video in 2 hours, so we thought we'd just have a chat. And hopefully you find it interesting."
He says 2 hours. It's currently 5 to 9.
It's not.
It's not 5 to 9. It's not really. And I
So-
can confirm that Colin has given us a tremendous meal and plied me with alcohol, but only a little bit.
Yeah.
It was terrific. The most amazing thing.
Good. All right. So Gary, tell me about yourself. Tell me about where was you born?
I was born in North Yorkshire.
Okay.
I was actually born in Catterick Garrison, not because my family are military, but because that was our local hospital. So I was born in the old military hospital in Catterick, and I don't know if it was connected, but shortly after I was born, they tore it down. So
I didn't want to leave any trace.
didn't want to leave any trace. So I was born in Catterick, and I grew up in a little village in North Yorkshire called Hunton. Lived with my grandparents, and I had the most idyllic childhood. To be perfectly honest, it was a small village.
I guess it would that have been a time when the mines are working, or is not there?
North Yorkshire's not a mining area.
Okay, right.
So South Yorkshire,
Okay.
West Yorkshire. North Yorkshire is farming and even to today it's farming and I suppose tourism now as well. When I was little, it was just all farming.
Yeah.
It was all farming.
So you went to school around there, and
I went to school down the village. Honestly, a lot of people will probably say, "Oh, I didn't enjoy my childhood," or "They don't remember the childhood." I remember my childhood, and it was just perfect.
Yeah.
It was great. You know, we went out of the house on a morning and we did what we wanted all day.
Yeah.
Came back for your tea,
For your jam sandwich.
for your jam sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just the same.
Jam if you were lucky,
Yeah.
and then you were back out, and
Yeah.
you didn't come back in the house till 9 o'clock at night. And never got reported as a missing person. Yeah.
So after leaving school, what was the next step for you?
I can remember the day I walked out of school actually,
Right.
and just thought, oh no, it's like
I'm going to have to do something.
I'm going to have some sort of responsibility here.
Yeah.
I either wanted to do one of two things when I was at school. I wanted to work in a bank, or I wanted to join the police.
Right.
And I didn't really get round to the police thing, but I'd been applying to work for banks since I was 15.
Right.
When I actually left school, the reality was I got a job washing pots,
Yep.
and I did a couple of other things. I worked in a picture framing factory, and then I went to work in a depot where they distributed fuel oil.
Okay.
But half of the job was working in the office and half of it was cleaning the trucks. And I thought, the working in the office bit, I thought this will be good work experience. So even when I was 16, I was thinking ahead.
Yeah.
When I was 17, I did another one of these applications to work in the bank, and I got a letter for an interview. And I went to see the lady in the HR department. It was in Leeds, so it was probably the biggest journey I'd done by myself at that age. Went into the interview, and this woman comes in. She's got this great big file of paper. Bangs it down on the desk. I was like, oh, I didn't think that was anything to do with me. And she said, "Gary, we thought we'd better give you an interview." She said, "These are all the letters and applications that you've written to us over the years. So I had my interview and I got a job.
All right, brilliant.
So I worked for Barclays Bank
Yeah.
for 11 and a half years.
So you're now a police officer.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did that come about from working in the bank?
Well, I lost my job in the bank. We won't go into the details of how that occurred, but let's just say it was...
Did it have anything to do with the balaclava?
Not the balaclava or the sawn-off shotgun. It was a clash of personalities, shall we say.
Yeah, okay.
So,
moving swiftly on.
so I lost my job. I thought I need to get something, so I went and worked in a builder's yard for a bit, and then I got a job in a tile warehouse, which was brilliant. I loved it.
Yeah.
Delivering 7.5 ton truck. I mean, I'd never driven one in my life. I was a lunatic in it.
How hard can it be?
How hard can it be? He said as he shed a ton of tiles off the side of the truck on a roundabout.
Yeah.
And so after about a year, there was a job advertised to work for North Yorkshire Police, taking calls. And I thought, I can do that. So I applied for it and went for an interview. We went away on holiday. We went on holiday to Italy. Came back off holiday. There was a letter waiting for me. Got an interview. No, I'd had the interview. Came back, offering me the job. So I started as a call taker with North Yorkshire Police, and did that 6 months. Became a supervisor in the control room. And then after a couple of years, there was an opportunity. It was a new thing at the time, to be a financial investigator in the police, which was a civilian post. And so I had police experience from the control room. I had the financial experience, applied for it and got it.
Bingo.
So I did that for about 3 years. That was really interesting.
Yeah.
You know, civil proceedings against people who'd committed offences and basically taking money off bad people. And after that, we decided we would have a change, and we moved to Scotland, which is where I live currently. I got a job working for the council, temporary. I then got a job working for the job centre, which was a bit closer to home at the time.
Do people find jobs working for the job centre in the job centre?
Well,
I suppose they would do, wouldn't they?
Do you know what? Before I worked for the job centre, I used to think that people would go to the job centre to find jobs. Yeah. But once I worked there, I realised that's the last place that you go to find a job. I wouldn't say that the people who worked there were particularly helpful. Yeah. But I was trying to be helpful to people. Yeah. I'd had a million job interviews to move to Scotland. I had real good experience. No, they weren't interested. Just process claims.
Yeah, just do as you tell.
So in the end, I'd had enough of that.
Yeah.
And I got an opportunity again to work in police control room for what was Lothian and Borders Police at the time. So I applied for that and got a job as a radio dispatcher. So you'd be talking, how old would I have been at the time? It was 2009, so I would be 38 at the time. We've just been talking about forgetting things as you get older. So I did that. And then when I was 40, I, at the time, though you might not believe it now, dramatically lost a lot of weight and thought, oh, do you know what? If I joined the police, I could retire earlier, and it would match up with when Jean's going to retire. And so it would make life a lot easier if we could both retire at the same time, because even then we'd already thought about, you know, what we are putting in motion now, which is going and living in France. So I didn't think for 1 minute I would get into the police. I just didn't think that I was the kind of person. The procedure for getting in involved going through about 9 different processes. And I just thought, I'll take them one at a time. I had to get fit to run 1.5 miles in 12 minutes. So I built myself up to that. Went for interview, got through the next bit, kept getting through. Then one day I just found myself sitting in the final interview and thought, God, this really could happen.
Yeah.
And half an hour later, there was the big hands coming across saying, well done. So
that's amazing.
So
yeah, there you go.
So
you mentioned earlier when we was chatting about you had cancer.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
It's going back 2002, and at the time that's when I was working for North Yorkshire, taking calls.
Okay.
And no, I was supervising, and I used to work in York, which, I mean, British people will know York, and probably a lot of American viewers will know York as well, because it's a massive, massive tourist centre.
Yeah.
So I was driving about 25 miles there to go and work in York, and I love driving. Never have a problem driving, but I was finding that I was feeling really uncomfortable as I was driving, and I thought something's just not right, and I kind of had a aching sensation, so I inspected myself, as all men should.
Absolutely,
actually.
Yeah.
And that is a real.
To be honest, this is why I'm bringing it up, because it's really important that men, there's no shame in it. There's no stigma to it.
No, absolutely.
If there's a lump in your testicle, then you need to get
absolutely.
that looked at.
Yeah. What I would say to anybody is, be aware of your own body, and be aware of changes in it.
Yeah.
And if you've got a change in it that makes you feel differently, and you think that that's not right, do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I went to see the doctor, and they referred me for an ultrasound scan. So that's what happens. They use an ultrasound. I could see straight away when they were doing the ultrasound that it was a tumour. Yeah. So just because of things I'd looked up about.
Yeah, of course,
and so they then referred me to a consultant who was great. It was this little Russian woman.
Okay.
And
some people pay money for that,
Yeah, I know. And I was looking and thinking, has she got big hands? I thought, no, that's good. She's got tiny little hands, so this isn't going to work too much. Yeah. and and that was it. 2 weeks later,
brilliant.
I was in the hospital. Yeah. Job's a good one.
Yeah.
And
so, following that experience, do you think that's had any effect on your life going forward from that?
I've thought
in terms of thinking of your own mortality, and also thinking of what I said yesterday. Life's not rehearsal. You only get one crack at it. You got to take some leaps.
It's funny because once I realised what was going on, and before the operation, I didn't really think about it at all. I honestly thought, this is the easiest cancer you can sort out. Yep. I thought, they're just going to sort me out. That is not a problem. And went into it with that attitude. I suppose I do have that. I do have quite an upbeat, jokey attitude about a lot of things. Went into it with that attitude. It wasn't till afterwards that I sat down and I thought, if I hadn't done anything about that, I could have died from that. Because it moves on and it affects other parts of your body.
Metastasizes throughout your body.
And
essentially.
So it wasn't till I sat down afterwards that I really thought about it. But it's definitely, even now, it is something that makes you think, make the most of everything.
Absolutely.
I'm 52, and my mother actually died when I was 51, and she died of kidney cancer. So, and we have talked about this, that passing that age played on my mind.
Yeah.
But I'm past it now.
Yeah.
But every year's a bonus.
Oh, yeah.
And you still think you've got to make the most of everything.
Yeah. I mean, my mum died when she was 57, I told you.
Yeah.
And, I'm 60 this year in a few months.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Hint, hint.
And, it just seems crazy that I've lived longer than my mum.
Yeah.
You know?
I know. So you look at other people, you always think other people are better off than you, don't you? Well, I do, because I'm from Yorkshire. Obviously, you're from the south, so nobody's better off than you. It's grim up north.
Yeah.
You look at other people and you think, oh, God, your life's so rosy. And it isn't, though.
Yeah.
I was very lucky
Yeah.
to have the childhood that I had.
Yeah.
And I've been very lucky, on the most part, to have the life that I've had.
Yeah.
And I feel lucky to have my life as it is continuing right now.
Yeah.
And, who'd have thought how you meet people in life?
Yeah. Me
and you would have never have met.
Oh, yeah.
If it wasn't for this.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And I said to you earlier, didn't I, when we arrived here, I said, I still feel like I'm talking to somebody off the television.
It's only me, isn't it? So, looking forward, how do you see the next 5 years going?
Well, that's a really good question, isn't it? Damn, I haven't done a job interview for quite a long time.
It's not a job interview.
I see it as being quite really focused on what's happening here.
Yeah.
Everything that we're doing now is built around
to set up for the
setting up for retirement.
The next phase of your life.
Yeah, because we're obviously not quite at the age where we can retire.
Yeah.
But we've seized our opportunities to sell our house and to do this in preparation for that, rather than waiting until then and then starting to go through processes. So I see it very much focused here and really, really looking forward to moving here. Because you've been a
francophile for years, haven't you?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I was telling Colin earlier about the first time that we ever visited France, and do you want me to
tell the people
how we ended up going to France?
How you managed to finance the trip?
in the good old days, what would be like 32 years ago when I met Jean. She lived in a little house, and it had a gas meter, and you used to have to feed pound coins into the gas meter. And she was going to work one day. I was off work, and she said, "Oh, would you mind waiting in for the gas man?" She said, "He'll be coming to empty the meter, and there should be some money coming back." And she said, "If you wait in, you can have the money." I was like, "No, I'm not really bothered, but yeah, I'll wait in for the gas man. That's not a problem." So I waited for the gas man, and he duly came, and he took the money box off the meter, and he emptied it out, and he counted the pound coins, and he put some pound coins in a bag, and he gave it to me, and he said, "That's the rebate, and there's your receipt for it." And I thought, blimey, that's a heavy bag of coins, that.
Yeah.
And when Jean came home from work, I said to her, "Are you sure you want me to keep these coins, the money back?" She said, "Yeah." And I said, "I don't think you will want me to." And we tipped them out. There was about 600 quid. So we paid for a holiday to France.
Do you think that was your sliding doors moment? In that, if you hadn't waited in, or if you hadn't,
Yeah, if those coins hadn't been in that meter, would we have done that?
Yeah.
And we booked a week in a gîte in the closest you could get to the port in Calais.
Right.
And we were in Picardy, Nord-Pas-de-Calais.
Yeah.
Stayed in a brilliant gîte. Fell in love.
Yeah.
Just totally fell in love with it.
There you go.
And it was actually now it would probably be 27, 28 years ago. We went on another trip to Brittany,
right,
and actually went house hunting.
right,
But got a total reality check
Yeah.
of what we could and couldn't afford. No way we were going to be able to buy a house back then, but the seed was there.
yeah.
You know,
it.
and that's
Yeah.
like nearly 3 decades ago.
Yeah,
God, I'm an old geezer.
isn't it?
I'm going to ask you the same question then. What made you want to live in France?
Well, it was. I was working with 3 fellas, and we had a railway arch in Shadwell in East London, and we had a porter cabin in the railway arch, and we had a computer in there. And one of the fellas, Neil, he was looking at properties in Spain because he was due to inherit some money and that. So anyway, he'd finished looking, and I had a 5-year share save scheme that was going to be coming to fruition, and so there was I had an idea of the amount of money, and so Neil finished on the computer and left it on Rightmove, I think it was.
Yeah.
Overseas property.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at Spain and Portugal. I got to France and I realised for the money that I was going to get from this share save scheme, you could buy a house.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
With a roof?
Sometimes.
Well, yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
If it had a roof, it wouldn't
Define
have an
roof.
interior. Yeah, define roof.
So 30 grand. So I went home and said to Jane, look, you know, we can buy an house for this.
This is a good idea.
Yeah, and she went, don't be an idiot, and that. And so I kept looking and showing her, and then she got the bug, and she started looking, and then I found out, which was the turning point, that you could get a French mortgage without being a French resident.
Right. Okay.
You just had to show that you could afford it. You know.
Yeah.
So.
So then the budget goes up.
Then the budget leapt up.
I bet it did.
And that's when Jane really became interested. And and here we are.
So is that how you bought your house, the last one?
Yeah.
In Leicester?
Yeah.
Yeah, which, I mean, was beautiful, and you did
a
great job on that. But what made you move to the Charente then?
Well, I'll tell you what it is, because the house in Leicester was out in the sticks, proper out in the sticks. It
right.
was,
okay.
It was miles from anything, and we're not getting any younger, and I didn't want to be in a position where one of us is left out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, rurally, and not near any facilities. Yeah.
So, and we also thought, and Jane said it as well, we also thought that if we're going to live in a different country, let's live in the sun. You know?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
It turned out that Charente was the second sunniest place in France after the Côte d'Azur.
I've got to say, today I can absolutely confirm that, because I have come over here with my British living in Scotland skin.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's been flailed from my body with heat.
So we ended up buying this place, but that's great.
And this place is beautiful.
It is. Yeah. Well, it's getting there. It's a work in progress, but it's getting there.
So, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, Colin?
Probably sitting by that pool, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, sitting by the pool.
Yeah.
And wondering why it all went so wrong.
Yeah. I don't know. 2 to 3 years. Well, 3 years, and we'll be over here. And after that,
I think what we'll do is we'll reconvene in 3 or 4 months when you come back.
Yeah.
Right? And we'll have a look in depth at the actual paperwork process and the actual physical process of buying a house.
Of buying a house here post-Brexit as well.
Post-Brexit, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Especially being obviously, if you... I would say obviously. if you're American coming, it's the same for the British now, because the EU sees the UK as what they call a third country. Yeah, so that changes things completely. So yeah, so as I say, we'll reconvene in 3 or 4 months, and we'll have a sit down, and we'll go right through the actual physical process of it. So we'll leave it there for the moment.
Okay.
And so I thank you for your time.
Not at all.
And thank you for saying my dinner was nice.
Yeah, the dinner was absolutely amazing. And it was brilliant.
Good. And so thank you for watching, everyone. It's much appreciated. Thanks for all your support. And that's really appreciated. So if you'd like to give the video a thumbs up, maybe share it on social media, maybe think about subscribing if you're not subscribed already. And all that leaves to say, I'm saying it this time.
It's your channel.
All that leaves to say is mine, there you go. And I'll see you tomorrow. Wicked.
Colin.